Hey, South Plains. I am actually sitting in my office today at the Lubbock Area United Way. Came up to the office to get a little bit of work done and pull files and that sort of things as we're kind of changing gears in the next couple of days and weeks, and hopefully getting some things opened up. But still want to come and tell you about great updates that our partners are doing and things that they have really worked hard to be able to continue to provide services over the last couple of weeks, and what they'll be doing to continue to do that as we move forward from here. So today I'm joined by Julie Laughlin. She is the Executive Director for Literacy Lubbock. And what Literacy Lubbock does is they work mostly with adults, promoting literacy, helping folks get GEDs. I'm doing a lot of English as a second language, tutoring in all sorts of areas, and helping people achieve the educational dreams that they have, and hopefully move on to getting better jobs and a higher income and many things. And then they also have some programs with parents and young kids, really promoting literacy at a young age for those folks. So Julie, thanks so much for joining me here. Why don't you just tell us how you guys have adapted? Because I mean, you have a lot of volunteers who come in and they do one-on-one FaceTime with their students and doing tutoring and stuff. So how have you guys been able to shift your services over the last couple of weeks?
We went to virtual tutoring. We had tutors that volunteered using Zoom platforms, whatever platform they were comfortable with. We set up a phone number for the students to call in. It's 475-0102. The dispatcher finds out their needs, then she sets them up with an online tutor.
Okay, fantastic. So you guys have really kind of moved things online and been able to connect people who maybe even hadn't started with you, hadn't been looking for tutoring services and help, really be able to connect them even though you guys haven't been in the offices. So as we think about those folks, we've talked a lot in these interviews about how kids are handling the situation and how education is continuing with kids. But there are a lot of folks in our community that are working on their education as adults. So what have you guys seen? What have you heard from your clients as people are still trying to work towards that GED, as people are still trying to work towards that better job, getting into college, whatever it is they might be working on?
So being at home, as you know, is so different because they do probably have kids at home, which is a major distraction. My parents live with me, so they're a major distraction. So trying to find the time to sit down and study is harder. So yes, the hours have dropped off considerably since we started going to online tutoring. The ESL students, they are more comfortable with some of the technology because they've used it to talk to family back home. And they're having online classes where all of them call in on Zoom and they continue their meetings. So the ESL students are getting more hours than the GED students are able to do.
Well, that's interesting. I think that's one of the things that we've all had a technology gap we've had to deal with in some ways, and some of us were more prepared to make the shift than others. And it's interesting to think about, ESL students they're a little bit more connected in that way. So when we think about those GED students, they have goals, they have things that they're working toward. They have a certain, I want to get to taking that test by this time, and I want to get to this place by this time. So what are some of the ways that you guys have gotten online and are continuing to try to help them get there, even if there might be a technology gap?
Gwen, the director of volunteer program, set up a resource page at www.llresources.weebly.com, and it has links to some of the online GED programs, like I even made a list of them: Khan Academy, Math Antics, Photo Math app. GED.com has a lot of online study aids. Language Arts Skills, study.com, and graphic literacy. So there's a lot of online resources. The problem with GED.com the testing for practice tests that we use has to be done on a computer. And most of our students have smartphones. So a lot of stuff does not work on the smartphone that will work online on a computer.
That's a really big hurdle, I think. We've, seen technology as a challenge for students all the way up from kindergarten all the way up. That's a really big hurdle for your students to overcome. So Julie, as we think about, well, actually, you know what, before we go into that, I want to hear a little bit of, you guys have really shifted your Tiny Tots program as well and what y'all are providing there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what y'all are doing?
Elizabeth gets on Facebook and she collects the addresses. And then on Friday, she makes the deliveries to the Tiny Tot homes. She puts 3 to 4 books in the bag, crafts, information on how important it is to read to your children, and drops the bags off at the front porch. Now, the early learning centers, we just distribute the books directly to the early learning centers. Some of our readers have recorded reading stories and continue reading stories that way.
That's fantastic, and it's been fun to see Elizabeth going out. She's done a couple of Facebook things. I think for sure the first week that she went out and talking about dropping off books to kids. I think that's great that you guys were able to continue doing that. So Julie, you and many of our partners and United Way for the last several years, we've really been focused on summer reading. And for folks out there in the community that don't know, there's a term we call summer slide. But basically what that means is the kids, while they are out for summer, they can lose up to several months worth of reading skills and math skills and other things that they have learned throughout the school year. So we really spend a lot of time focusing on summer reading programs and the importance of reading to and with your kids. And, there's a lot of things that happen with kids during this time, but certainly things are happening with y'all's adult students as well. So how do you think this crisis and this period of stay-at-home orders and things being all chaotic really and different as far as learning schedules for lots of folks, how do you think this is going to affect literacy in our community overall?
Well, I think it will affect the students in high school who were close to graduating. Will they be able to graduate on time, or will they expect them to come back to school next year after having been out of school for 6 months? And what are they going to retain then? And will they just get discouraged and drop out? So we're concerned that we may see a higher number of dropouts for high school, which then will need to work on a GED.
So students who maybe were kind of borderline in their grades, weren't really sure whether they were going to pass, and maybe now we have some of those students who are struggling to access education right now. So what happens to those students? Will those students have to come back? What about your students who are already in your GED programs and other things? How do you think that's going to affect them?
I think they will lose their momentum being at home, being out of a routine. And like we discussed, how chaotic it can be at your own home with your kids running around and having time to study, having a quiet place to study, everybody fighting over who's going to be on the internet. I think it will take a back seat to their lives, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so and really one of the things that we've often talked with you guys about is literacy affects so much. It affects your health, the ability to read how you're supposed to take your prescriptions, the ability to understand just so many basic things that literacy plays a big role in, and understanding. And somebody who hasn't had access to good literacy education can really fall behind in a lot of ways in our world. So this is incredibly important. The work that Literacy Lubbock is doing, both with their families and their adult students, is really important with helping people get a leg up in life and move families out of poverty and really change the circumstances for a lot of folks in our community. So Julie, thank you all that y'all have continued to work with students and try your best to get that out there and help people stay motivated. I know your tutors have been trying to figure out how to be online and do tutoring online as well, and it's been a big change for everybody. So Julie, thanks so much for what you guys have been doing.
Thank you very much. We love what we do.
Well, good. Okay, so South Plains, thanks for joining us again today. We're going to keep doing this. We know the state's getting opened back up and things are going to be changing in the next couple of weeks, but people still have needs. There's still ongoing long-term stuff that has happened because of the crisis, and we want to keep talking about that and keep making sure that people have access to resources. So we'll keep doing this. We'll keep bringing you updates. But thanks for joining us today. All right, thanks everybody.